Okay, we are live here with Jason Gosser of Guild Mortgage. Jason, we're going to go ahead and ask you a few questions about your business and kind of how you've gotten to the level that you are at currently. First, though, we'd like to know a little bit about how your business looks, how your team looks, and what your production is going to look like this year.
Okay, well, nice to be on the call with you. Basically, I focus most of my efforts on real estate agents and consumer direct marketing. And that's one of the things I've used to build those relationships. And so my team right now consists of 4 ISAs. I have 6 loan officer assistants, and then I have 6 partnering loan officers that I utilize to help with the business that I've actually created. So what I found early on is leverage was key for growth. This year we're expected to do about 165, maybe 175 million dollars in business, and last year we were at 98. So significant growth, and that's something that we've really focused on. And next year my goal is 240, 250. So that's kind of the direction that we're headed. So pretty excited about it.
Awesome, that's a lot of growth. So for you, what have been a couple of challenges that you've encountered, or some things that you're seeing loan officers in today's market face as the face of real estate and lending is changing and the way people are getting business is changing?
Sure, that's a good question. For me, I think it was managing, leadership. You spend, 20 years of your career doing everything yourself. I think going into that next step, there's kind of that tipping point that I think a lot of loan officers run up to, where it's like you're doing just enough to kind of support yourself and your loan officer assistants. It's like, but getting to that next level. And I think once you crack that tipping point is where the real growth becomes in financially, but also I think in your life, because you're able to, I'm actually working less now than I have been in prior years because I've leveraged myself. So that's probably the biggest thing, is that tipping point, getting over that tipping point and being in a position where you can grow and build and comfortable about it, where you're not always worried about, the bottom line.
Cool. So give us some perspective on how that looks. What was your schedule like before you hired a team, kind of at that peak, and what does your schedule look like now?
Yeah, that's I was down in San Diego for our retail advisory board, and everybody keeps coming up to me. And the one big question I get all the time is, you must work a lot. And it's actually quite the opposite. Since I've built the team and have found ways to leverage myself, I start my day at about 10:30 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Those are my workout days. Which for me is a non-negotiable. I don't care if our regional manager's in town. I don't care if the president of the company's in town. Those are times I work out. My wife and I, we train together on those days, and that's just a non-negotiable for me. Tuesdays and Thursdays are kind of hit and miss depending upon, I like to do personal things in the morning, whether it's dry cleaning, whether it's just different things I have to do. So for the most part, I'm probably starting about 9:30, and then I got a 10-year-old and a 3-year-old who have activities. Tuesdays and Thursdays, my 3-year-old has Kung Fu, and so I leave the office at 3:30. I drive to her martial arts studio. She does a little 35-minute Kung Fu thing, which is the highlight of my Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I come back to work for a couple hours, and my son has basketball practice that I go to. So I'll try to find maybe one day a week where I work, maybe 6:30. But for the most part, I'm probably putting anywhere between 30 and 35 hours a week into this job. Don't work weekends, which is something I'm probably scaled back from maybe the 60-hour work week I had maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So I think that's the benefit, I think, of thinking bigger. I think there's that misconception that when you think big, it's just more work. And actually, if done properly with proper coaching and proper, leadership and all that, you could actually, it should be contrary. You actually should be able to work less. So I'm pretty excited about. When I look at my schedule, I kind of get goosebumps, because I'm like, it's full of personal stuff all week long of different activities I get to do. So I'm excited about that. But that's kind of what I've been focused on.
So you probably work about half as much as loan officers doing a quarter of your volume or half your volume. That's pretty amazing. How important is it? How awesome is it for you that you can be with your family for those special events and that you're not missing out on that? Was that part of the drive for you to learn how to leverage your business so you could spend more time with them?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing, like I said earlier, the tipping point is I didn't realize there was a tipping point because I had never gone through it before. But looking back, I think that's something that I would want to share with people, is letting them know you're going to run up against this point where you can't work more hours without sacrificing so much. And I could have hit that. The tipping point was kind of in front of me, but I didn't have the proper coaching and the proper support to help me realize where that tipping point was at. Otherwise, I think I would have seen it earlier in my career, and I could have made some adjustments, because I've always been a high producer. I've always done well, and I think I could have probably leveraged myself out earlier and done some things differently. I'm happy I found it. I found out about it when I did, but at the same time, I think I probably could have hit it maybe 5 or 6 years earlier. But I think my kids forced me to take a look at my business and my career where, I didn't really have to before. And, my son's 10, my daughter's 3. So, those ages have kind of pushed me to look at things a little bit differently. So I think that's probably been a huge factor for me.
Yeah, and you mentioned coaching. That's one of the ways that I got to know you very well.
Yeah.
Aside from coaching, obviously coaching has been important for you. Aside from coaching, what are a couple of other things, 2 or 3 other things that you would recommend for agents who are looking to get to your level? And not everybody is, right? Some
Sure.
people don't necessarily want to push to where you're at. However, if they are interested in that or just want to scale back their hours and still increase production, what are a couple tips that you've had that you found most valuable that you could share?
Regardless regardless of the level that you're at, you have to set time aside daily. It's 15 minutes, it's an hour. Obviously, through Jeff Latham, and he pushed me into the Miracle Morning. I read the book. I've adopted, and I would say, compared to a lot of my colleagues, and probably yourself, I maybe don't follow it as tight as I could, but I'm 100% better than I ever have been in the 20 years of my prior business. I make sure I set it might be 15 minutes in the morning. It could be an hour and a half. I might sit in the hot tub and read for a bit. I might listen to some audio tapes, do some reflection. It's something that I think's forced me to look at my business and not be interrupted with family things. There's always something going on in your life, and I've just made it. I've just made it a mission to set that time aside. And so that would probably be the biggest thing, because when you're alone with your thoughts, a lot of really good, powerful things can happen. Your own. You can create your own accountability, your own reflection. So you can kind of start planning. You can plan your day. So it's been a huge factor for me. One of the other things that I have a call center, or I have inside sales agents that I've hired and trained, and that's probably been another key factor for me in my growth and kind of where I want to spend my time, because they can help generate and create business for me and my team. But learning and developing that through trial and error it's taken a lot more time than I expected. It's you got people. It's kind of a burnout type of a job, and you got to it's kind of trial by error, I guess. And I haven't really had the opportunity to learn from anybody in my position, because very few lenders, I know real estate agents have their ISAs, and it's kind of been, dialers are real big in the real estate industry, but from a lending perspective, you don't see it as much. I'm at one of the top companies in the country, at Guild, and I have no other top producers to talk to about my ISA department. And so they all come to me, and I've had about 7 of them reach out to me in the last probably 3 or 4 months. One just flew in from Texas. Another buddy of mine, Eric Colby's flying in from Colorado in about 2 weeks, and they all want to know what I'm doing because we've been so successful. So that's probably been a key thing is taking time to reflect, but also think about and planning growth and finding out different ways to be better and have more time for my family.
Awesome. I love that you threw in the plug for the Miracle Morning. That's been a huge impact. It had a huge impact on myself, and I know Jeff. Hal Elrod was one of my first coaches.
Yeah, I just heard that. Yeah,
Berghoff were 2 of my first coaches, and we're going down to an event with Hal in December. For those of you, if you're watching, Google the Miracle Morning. Hal has a whole series: the Miracle Morning for real estate agents, Miracle Morning for salespeople, Miracle Morning for network marketers. Now, I'm sure probably pretty soon there'll be Miracle Morning for lenders as well.
Yeah.
And it's been a game changer for a lot of people. I've probably given out 500-600 of those books, and I've heard time after time after time people that have called me later or emailed me when they've read it and just said it's changed their life. And so, shameless plug for Hal. It's a great book. You should pick it up if you're watching and you haven't read it or heard of it. And I love how you have thought outside the box and created this system. It is a little bit lonely at the top, right? When you're the only one doing what you're doing. Any other thoughts or tips for people on how they can get to where you're at?
Well, I guess you just really you really got to have some self-reflection and just really look at your current schedule. Take a look at your life and what do you want? I was talking to a loan officer the other day, which I thought was kind of funny. He met with me, and he wanted to kind of know what I've done. But then I started asking some questions, and then he kind of came across like, well, I don't really have ambitions to do the numbers that you're doing. But yet the meeting was somewhat contrary, because essentially that's what he was here for, was to find out what I'm doing so he can replicate what I've done. But I found it kind of intriguing because what it really boils down to is leverage and finding leverage and finding a way to break through your tipping point. And for me, I guess I broke through it completely unaware. I was breaking through it. And I wish that I'd had the guidance to, break through it earlier. But I now kind of have a system, and I can help people break through that tipping point. If just with some of the trial and error that I've come through. But really, it boils down to is being a single loan officer in this business, or even having a small team where you are the focal point. Basically, everybody, agents, borrowers, everybody wants your time, is only going to get you so far. At some point, you're going to have to find a different method to create the time with your family, and have the huge success. Like I said, I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life, and I'm working about maybe half the hours. And there's a way to do that. And I would encourage people to self-reflect and get help, get coaching, get support to find out where their tipping point is, so they can actually take advantage of the life that I'm starting to create for myself and have been excited to enjoy.
Cool. Let's talk a little bit about what's next for you, because I know we had discussed a little bit that you had a desire to give back and teach some people how to get where you've gotten, so they don't have to experience all of the pain and all of the time that you've put into hitting that ceiling over and over again and finally learning how to break through. Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I've been obviously giving back and helping others is awesome, and I love to do that. I've kind of been drawn into it, not knowing I was doing it, because as the top loan officer at Guild, I don't know how many loan officers we have. It could be maybe 600, maybe 1,000. It's a lot. We go to these retail advisory boards. We go on the President's Club trips. We go to different events, and I pretty much spend the entire event coaching people, not realizing I'm coaching people. And, you know, they're sitting there with notepads and kind of asking questions, and they want to know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And, you know, I'm sharing everything that I've done to kind of to get to where I'm at. And I thought, you know, this is kind of unorganized. It's kind of on the cuff. It's, you know, short conversations. You're providing people little bits of information where, you know, we all know they're probably going to take that back home and do nothing with it. There's no accountability. There's no structure. There's no format. There's no, you know, it's missing all that stuff. So through the help of and support of some of the people that are in my life, like yourself and Jeff Latham and Bruce Kussman and some of the people that I know, we kind of decided to, or I've decided to define it and put some structure to it where I can help people, not just for 15 minutes, you know, at a coffee table, you know, at some function, but I can create some structure where I can literally be part of changing their life. And that starts to get me excited. And I think that's kind of the direction that I'd like to go, in addition to, you know, to doing huge, massive loan numbers with my team and keep them rolling and growing. I'd like to share with other people what I've done and how I've gotten to where I've you know, been accomplished some of the goals I wanted. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to know more about this, should they just go to the applyforfreedom.com and submit an application to have a conversation with you? Is that the
Absolutely.
best way to do?
Yep. Applyforfreedom.com, and I'd be happy to have a conversation and just share some thoughts and ideas and find out where people are in their lives and if there's anything I can do to help benefit them. And I do believe that you know, having gone through it, I think I can help shorten that time frame for people. And, you know, they don't have to, you know, get to a point where they've been doing this 15, 16, 17 years before they realize, unfortunately for me, I had my kids late. So my wife and I, we were working together. So the 12-hour days weren't as much of an issue. But once they started to become an issue, that's when I kind of was forced to really take another look. I just like to spare people, you know, those trial and errors, I guess, because there's a better way to do it. And I now know the way to do that. And I think a lot of people, well, I know a lot of people want to know it because people reach out to me all the time and they want to know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it and what's different about the way that I run my business. So I know there's a need for it, and I just want to, you know, spread my information out there and just see who wants to run with it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing today. And I know that
My
you
pleasure.
discussed working with just a handful of people, probably 5 to 10 people to start out with. So you can have a really hands-on experience with them and walk them step by step through what you've built. So if you're watching and you want more information on what Jason is doing or want to reach out and be part of that initial group, go to applyforfreedom.com and Jason will get a hold of you with
Cool
information. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Isaac.